Good evening. We apologize for being late. We've met in closed session. We have a quorum, so let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to start with the approval of minutes. Do we have a motion?
So moved. The approval of the minutes for the May 4th special workshop and board meeting and the May 11th recognition open house meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Julia moves. Mike seconds.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the reception of visitors. The meeting agenda includes 2 opportunities for comments from the audience. The first reception of visitors is intended for members to address the board about any agenda item on which the board will vote. The second is intended for audience members to address the board on any topic pertaining to Community High School District 99. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes to provide all visitors an equal opportunity to address the board. Individuals needing more time should submit their thoughts in writing to the board secretary. Visitors addressing the board need to come to the microphone and state their full name. The proceedings are being tape recorded for the purpose of producing accurate meeting minutes. And I reserve the right to modify these protocols if circumstances warrant. Your observation of these protocols is appreciated. So do we have anyone who'd like to come forward? Seeing none, we'll move on to recommendations and reports.
Thank you, Dr. Kupka. The first report is the awarding of foundation grants, and the foundation is very pleased to award over $19,000 to teachers for grants to support their work in the classroom. And Mr. Olson, are you the presenter, sir? We'd like to recognize Eric Olson, who is here, and Martha Merlos from the foundation board, and they're going to make the presentations tonight.
All right, well, good evening. Thanks for allowing us to come out tonight and recognize some great opportunities that are here for our district and our students, more importantly. We have, I believe, 7 awards that were being given tonight. I'd like to kind of go off each one at a time here. So I'd like to start with Special Services Department at North High School. Karen Brown, Kim Jaros, and Lisa Mangelsdorf. And we appreciate their grant was for headsets with microphones for the special services, the students, allowing them to gain independence. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Wait, ladies? Could you come back up? They're going to take a picture. Yeah. Ms. Browning's going to take a picture. We're proud of you. We're going to show you off.
Yeah. All right, next, North Fine Arts Department, Leslie Miller. She requested precious metal clay to create an introductory jewelry making class. Next, Downers South Fine Arts, Michelle Lynn for the Cintiq for this digital painting and touch-up. This is a computer program and display that allows the students to advance photography and graphic design curriculum. So we're really excited about the North Science Department, Patrick Murphy, for a DNA replication and protein synthesis, 3D models. Wow. So rather than using 2D, it allows the students to kind of really manipulate and see how the DNA molecules come together. So thank you. All right. South English Department, Eric Bourne. This is to provide book vouchers for low-income students for the summer reading program for all. And this is a great opportunity for everyone. Thank you for that. Thank you. South Science Department, James Workman and Lisa McCartney for their STEM integration and the physiology analysis for spiker boxes, which allows for neuromuscular analysis. Talk about expanding the anatomy and physiology curriculum.
Wow.
And last for the teacher grants would be for South Special Services, Peter Freischlag and Robert Kud. Thanks. Hope I didn't butcher your name too bad. But this is great. This is for the emotional and behavioral disorder students, allowing the students to learn outside of the school and to interact with community. So I appreciate that. Thank you. And then our last award is for our 99 Plus. It is a department award, and actually this year is great because it goes to the science departments at both North and South. So Karen Eder and Mike Heinz. Oh, okay. And this is for anatomy in clay, where the students use clay models to basically, in their words, re-engineer the body systems. So it's a hands-on anatomy without cadavers. We like that. So these are all great. So we were really excited this year with these applications. You know, it's kind of what the whole purpose of the foundation is to push forward and to grow the curriculum and allow, you know, like I like to say, research and development, you know, to move beyond what is the standard in education and really make Downers Grove high schools, you know, the best they are in the state. So thank you very much, everybody, for your applications and everybody for your assistance in helping us provide this. Thank you.
And I'd like to just take a moment to thank you and the foundation for all of your support. We love our foundation, and we are so grateful to have you, and this is such a labor of love for all of you, and we cannot thank you enough.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you.
Can I say, you know, so it's total close to $20,000.
Right, just short of 20, right.
And so how about, since this is being recorded, a little, how do you raise that money? So we have things like, we have Pizza Wars.
We got Pizza Wars and appeals. We put out letters of appeal.
Right.
We have bricks that you can engrave your names on them. There's an area at north right in front of the main stairs, and it's south by the athletic entrance.
Ticks for a Cause.
Ticks for Cause is an opportunity.
This weekend.
If you have, if anybody has tickets that are unable to be used, you can put it on that site, and then as they're sold, it's kind of like a StubHub, except that the money goes to whatever charity that you've chosen. So we're on that list. Also, Amazon Smiles. The foundation is registered with them. So if you sign up and select the District 99 Education Foundation, anything you buy on Amazon, percentage of that goes towards the foundation. So those are our main fundraisers. So, and donations are...
Any donations, anything?
And
the
they're
website
appreciated.
is...
Donations are...
Our website is d99ef.org. District 99 Education Foundation.org. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And there's
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your support.
From
Now we'd like to ask all the recipients to step out so we can take a group picture.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, and congratulations.
Congratulations, recipients.
Oh, lovely. School calendar change?
Yes, Dr. Kupka, believe it or not, we are tonight finalizing the school calendar for the 2014-2015 school year. As the board is aware,
Already?
yes, we have 15 days to go. Each year, the board builds in 5 emergency days in the calendar. We've always presumed that the purpose of building them in is to use them if needed. We did use 3. Therefore, the last day of school this year will be June 9th instead of June 4th.
Okay.
And the board will vote on that in the consent agenda to officially approve that current year, school year calendar.
Discipline code revisions?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, Mrs. Borman.
Sorry.
Each year, our deans and associate principals review student handbooks, particularly the areas of student discipline and attendance and code of conduct. They make recommendations based on their review, and they slowly vet these recommendations throughout the year to students, parents, teachers, administration, district administration. And finally, we reach the point where we make a presentation to the board. Essentially, we will ask the board to approve these later tonight, and once the board approves them, they essentially become board policy. That's why it's important for us to review them with the board before they go in the handbook. The timing of this is relatively crucial because the handbooks go out for printing relatively soon. Two persons were in charge of this during the year, Mrs. Borman and Ms. Master-Demos. Ms. Master-Demos had a conflict tonight. Ms. Borman is going to make this presentation. And I believe there are no recommended changes for activity or athletic code of conduct.
That's correct.
So there will not be a presentation about those.
Well, thank you for your time this evening. The recommendations that I'm going to share with you this evening represent new or revised language that follows either new legislation or revised policy language in District 99 to better reflect our current system and practices. The first page of the memo that we've shared with you through the board docs briefly outlines 7 recommendations you'll see there. And the additional pages beyond that offer a more detailed description of each of those changes. The first 2 memo items that I'll be reviewing tonight refer to the academic integrity policy regarding changes made both in the code violation language of the handbook as well as the actual outline of the policy. The third item, it will involve, as I review this, an update from the state regarding subcodes for certain Code B violations in the handbook. The fourth item refers to our tardy consequences and provides additional language to explain the differences between consequences related to the 4th tardy and the 5th tardy and beyond. And the 6th item will share new language that the state has created with the bullying law regarding cyberbullying. Finally, the 7th recommendation covers new language that we would like to add to explain the semester grade calculation as it was presented to this board on January 26th. And if it's okay with the board, I thought it might be helpful for me to share and review all of the recommendations with you first, and then after I've done that, we could spend some time answering any questions that you might have. Does that sound okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to begin with the second page after the memo then, which is the second attachment on the agenda. And the first 2 items I mentioned address the question that I think was brought up at this time last year regarding our academic dishonesty policy when we presented changes to the board in the handbook. And really, I think at that time we were looking at questions related to the language supporting consequences for this action in the handbook. A committee was formed after that last fall, early this fall, and it included Dr. McDonald, Gina Zaccardi, Lucia, myself, and several staff members from both buildings, which included department chairs, teachers, counselors, and deans. We met 3 times, and during those meetings, we reviewed the current policy while considering new language as well as ways to present the information so that it would be more user-friendly for our students, staff, and families. During the meetings, we reviewed policies from 5 other districts as we looked through this, including Hinsdale, Naperville, Glenbard, and District 214. And when looking at these, we really felt that the current language in our handbook covered many of the steps necessary as we reviewed the other policies. However, we also saw a need for specific language to make the steps clear at each level of consequence. There was more that we could do to make that happen. At the suggestion of the committee, we created a grid that you'll see in the document here, which we really felt provides a clear diagram of the consequences issued from both an academic as well as a disciplinary standpoint. So it mapped it out in an easier way for people to read if you were, for example, opening the handbook for the first time and trying to understand what this was about. We also looked at providing an area to further explain the consequences that will occur with each offense within each level, so that it would be aligned with what we were talking about in each place. The committee felt that it would be important to include notification of the department chair, which was something that was not mentioned previously, because we feel like as the teachers are being notified, it's also important to have department chairs aware of what's going on at the same time, and of course the dean and the counselor as well. We are also in the process of creating a consistent communication process in each building so that we can inform our staff and students of these new changes when we begin the new school year in August. And so as you view the policy, you might notice the language for the academic integrity regulations have not really changed much, but instead have been simplified. If you look at the next document, which has beyond the grid, has the academic integrity regulations there, it's really reworded so that it's simplified. And we looked at the sentence structure as a committee and decided that there are some things we could do to streamline some of the wording, and so that it wouldn't be as redundant, but it would capture, in essence, what the policy was about. And so as we did that, you know, like I mentioned, the information has remained relatively the same. And it clearly states what types of consequences can occur with each offense at each level. The next item is the Code B violations, which are on the next page. And this recommendation really comes from the state of Illinois. Earlier this year, they created a new reporting system requirement that resulted in having several B code violations that have expanded to provide greater detail as to the nature of a violation or an infraction. So if you look at the document, for example, there are 5 major B codes here that the state looked at. Fighting is B5, B9 is assault and battery, B16 is possession of or use of weapons, B17 is assault or battery, and then B21 is verbally or physically provoking a fight. And the state has put subcodes with each of those categories now so that we can find more specific information and record that with the state. And they've required us to put that into our handbook as well, so that we're using that at a disciplinary level. The 5th recommendation involves a minor change in the language to align more with our current practices of requiring students to demonstrate learning and mastery by completing assignments. Our teachers in District 99 currently give students additional opportunities to complete work when they're absent. So we would like to strike the current sentence in the handbook that says students shall not receive credit for makeup work following an unexcused absence. And this would just align with the current practices that we have in the district in terms of encouraging students in learning and moving forward with mastery. The 6th recommendation comes from the new language, again by the state of Illinois, to expand on the current bullying law. Effective in January 1st of 2015, a new public act required this language be added to a school student's handbook regarding cyberbullying. And as we know, this is coming up more often, and so the state has asked us to add this to our handbooks. Lucia and I are both proud to say that we practice the language in this already, so it exists within our buildings, and it's certainly nice to have it in writing now in our handbook. Just to give you a summary of what this is referring to, it says that the law requires further language to protect students from being bullied through technology, both at school and off campus. The law also covers language to state that the school will be involved and support the students, as well as issuing consequences, et cetera, when the act occurs through a school computer or other school-related technology, and or during school hours. After an investigation, which we would do in any instance like this, if it's determined that the act is beyond the scope of the school district, we would provide a process for referral with the family to connect them with an outside resource that may be able to help them if the school cannot address that, in which case for us is usually the police department. So our school resource officers have been very helpful in working with families when these things occur. And finally, for the 7th item, we have new language that we would like to add as an FYI, really, to explain the semester grade calculation that was presented here in January of this year. The language that we would like to recommend to support the discussions that have been occurring would read, the semester grade is based on the student's performance over the course of 18 weeks plus a semester exam. The semester exam can be weighted up to 20% of the final semester grade. So that's really just kind of in line with what we've already been talking about and helps give some background information into the handbook as we look at that. That's all of the information that I have for you tonight. I know that we've reviewed it in detail up to this point, but I would like to give an opportunity for questions at this time if anyone has any about any of the items I've mentioned.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Any questions?
No.
been very comprehensive. Thank you.
Thanks for your work.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you.
All very clear.
Freedom of information.
Thank you, Dr. Kopka. There was a single Freedom of Information request that we fulfilled at the time we printed the agenda or published the agenda, and that was fulfilled in a letter from Mr. Stalen.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the public hearing section of our agenda tonight. This is on the application for waiver or modification of state board rules and/or school code mandates.
Yes, to remind the board, we currently have a waiver from the state of Illinois for driver education. That waiver allows us to charge $250 per head as a driver education fee, and the "and" is important, and to use that to offset the cost of offering driver education, because the behind the wheel part is quite labor intensive. One teacher for 2 or 3 students in a car. The law now allows us to charge a $250 fee. However, the language in the law does not allow us to use that fee to offset cost. I'm clueless as to why that's so. But we have the option to request a waiver that would allow us to use that money for the purpose we decide. Now, you'll notice that the waiver actually allows us to charge up to $350. That would be something the board would approve. The board has already reviewed fees. Now we're not seeing an interest in that amount. It just gives us a flexibility 4 or 5 years down the line to make a change if that's the board's intent.
And this waiver lasts
5 years.
5 years.
I can remember when we did it the last time.
I can too. Gee, time flies.
Yes,
Any other
when we're having
questions
so
or
much
comments? Moving on.
That's right, you have to have a public hearing.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Is there anybody who would like to address the board on this issue?
Do we have to formally convene the public hearing?
Yes.
I think you do.
Thank you.
Yes, you do.
Tap your gavel and say,
This is a public hearing.
My apologies, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board regarding the waiver and modification of state board rules? Hearing none, we'll move on to the public hearing on proposed interfund transfers.
So we close, you
Declare it
have to
closed.
close that.
Close.
And reopen it?
Well, close it, so
yes,
then there's
close
a
the
new
hearing.
public hearing for the.
Yes, we have to close the
Okay.
public hearing.
Yeah.
I'm closing the public hearing
now we're going to open a new
on
one.
state board rules, and I'm going to open it on the proposed interfund transfers. This is the most
Mark,
my
you want to
cable's
review
ever
this?
gotten.
Sure. Don't have much more to add other than what we had at the last board meeting. We have the same transfers that we're expecting to do. There are really 3 of the 4 transfers. If you're familiar with this from the last board meeting where we went through that document in detail, the working cash fund tonight is 1 transfer. The second column, educational and transportation to O&M transfers, is the second, and then O&M to the capital projects is the third. The working cash abolishment we're going to do in June. It becomes effective in June 30th anyways. So that you'll have in your packet 3 resolutions for the transfers. So you could open
Open
yeah.
Okay.
Just open it.
Yeah.
We're going to open up the discussion,
Public hearing.
public hearing, thank you.
Inter-
I'm Scott O'Connell. I've got some handouts for you. There's some inside.
Just so you know, sir, I think you have to state your address as well, but your,
No.
no? Okay, but
Pardon?
your memo was circulated this afternoon.
Okay, good.
Sent it to the-
And this should be in your inbox as well. So, my name is Scott O'Connell. Dear trustees, please consider the following to be my written testimony on the proposed permanent transfers as found within agenda items 9B, 9C, and 9D. Tonight's scheduled public hearing offers the public the opportunity for, number 1, questions and answers between the district's expert witnesses and members of the audience and/or the Board of Education. 2, cross-examination of the district's expert witnesses by all those present. And 3, presentations by members of the audience who are either in favor of or against the proposed transfers of cash between the various operating funds and trust funds. As a foundational matter, I believe it is important to clarify the amount of cash and investments contained within each of the operating funds or non-operating trust funds as of April 30th, 2015. This matter is greatly simplified due to the fact that all cash totals for each of the operating funds and all of the various non-operating funds have a single bank statement as their source document. In addition, the same clarification should be able to be performed for the most recently available bank account balances as well. As trustees of the various operating funds and explicit trusts, each board member has a fiduciary duty to oversee the handling of the monies entrusted to him or her. During the course of this hearing, I ask that each member of the board review the testimony given and the disclosure of facts or lack of disclosure of facts through a focused and critical microscope. As part of your fiduciary duty, it is important that each trustee, no matter if you have been on the board for 14 years or only 14 days, maintain a vigilant and watchful eye for any possibility of conversion, illegal diversion, or misappropriation of public trust fund monies. It should be a chilling reminder to every seated trustee that if some part of a trust fund should be lost, there would be a serious question whether, because of an individual trustee's failure to perform his or her duty as a trustee, that trustee directly becomes liable to the beneficiaries for such negligence. Being a trustee is a very serious matter. I know from personal experience, having been a school board member for 4 years. If, during the course of this hearing, a question is asked that you feel is relevant to you as a trustee, I ask that each of you do everything within your power to ensure that the public record of this hearing contains a satisfactory answer. This testimony, in its essence, is a prayer for the protection and preservation of the trust funds maintained by the 7 board members acting as trustees and created in accordance with the statutes of the state of Illinois for the protection of bondholders, the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund employees, Social Security participants, and the beneficiaries of your largest trust fund, the $13,100,000 Working Cash Fund Trust. It is my belief that each of my questions should be able to be answered not only by the administrators of this public body, but by each and every trustee here this evening. They will not be difficult questions. At any given moment, each of you should be able to turn to a published report currently in front of you, find the answer, and educate those in the audience with a complete and factual answer. With that preamble now complete, I will turn to my questions. Madam President, to whom should I address my questions regarding the amount of cash and investments in each of the district's individual operating funds or trusts as of the end of April 2015?
Mr. O'Connell, you can address your questions to Mr. Stalen, and I'm sure Dr. McDonald and the rest of the board members will assist as needed. But I would like to clarify that while this is a public hearing, and we certainly are open to questions and answers, there will be no cross-examination this evening.
There will be no what?
Cross-examination.
Well, those are the rules of a public hearing in the state of Illinois.
I'm going to ask you to continue on with your questions expeditiously, please, sir.
As of the 30th of April this year, what was the bank balance for the account maintained at MB Financial Bank containing the monies of the operating funds and the various trust funds? Do you
have that information with me? And for the most of your questions, I've seen your answer. That'll be the answer. I don't have that. We got your list of 30 questions this afternoon, and we did not have time to prepare any kind of information. If you'd like a more detailed, very specific answer, like you're asking for that information, I would suggest you prepare it for you.
Well, seeing as this is a public hearing for fund transfers, it's rather important to have all the information that is the foundation for these transfers. But I would like to ask that the record reflect that no trustee nor administrator answered the question or provided any comment about the lack of specificity regarding the cash or assets even that are deposited in any of the funds.
Excuse me, Mr. Stalen, you've presented that over the last several months, at least up to that point in time.
Well, we have, what he would like is a specific breakdown between cash and investments for every fund for certain periods of time. April 30th, today, I think he would like that today. And so what the specific breakdown is between cash and investments. And really, I believe it's based on the premise that, an incorrect premise about the transfers themselves. Somehow there's an interpretation from Mr. O'Connell that it is cash on hand that is regarded in the statute for transferring just cash not considering investments of a particular fund. And that's not in the statute, and that, according to our attorneys, that's not the correct premise. And so the premise that he says that you need the information, you don't need to have it broken out individually by fund. And if you do look, and not to put it back up there, but no money is leaving the district. It's just going intra-fund from one fund to another fund. And so the caution here that you need to be careful if some money disappears. Well, no money's disappearing. It's all being transferred legally. And our attorneys have reviewed this issue and are confident in that.
Thank you.
If there's nothing, I have to ask why you need board approval to make these transfers.
Madam President, I'd like to remind the board that this is a hearing. This is when we listen to public comments. We do not answer questions.
Thank you.
A hearing actually is an interaction between a member of the public and the board. It's an opportunity, this is the opportunity for the public to get information from the board. So once again, is there a reason you need board approval to make these transfers?
Our attorneys have advised us, so we should pass the resolutions that they presented to us in order to facilitate these transfers, yes.
So your attorneys say you have to get a board resolution. Okay. As of the date of this hearing, are there any working cash fund loans outstanding?
This is inappropriate.
There are none.
None. Okay, thank you.
I can give it.
Are there any loans between any funds that are outstanding?
Then I'd have to look and see exactly.
I'd like to.
You know what, Mr.
Can I just ask in terms of, there seems to be some disagreement in terms of how this public hearing is supposed to be conducted, and if I'm understanding correctly, this is not supposed to be a two-way conversation.
The purpose of the public hearing is to hear comment from the community about actions the board is considering. It's not a question and answer session.
Right.
It's not an opportunity for the public to cross-examine the administration, the board, or the board's professionals.
Well, I believe you're all mistaken on that, but I don't have any more questions, but I do have more of a statement that I think should be enlightening to all of you, and it's very important that you listen carefully. So, it is proposed within lawful orders 9B and 9C that $17,140,000 of cash is to be transferred between various operating funds of the district, as well as the Working Cash Fund Trust. The school district's treasurer has certified that the total cash in bank as of April 30th, 2015 for the operating funds and various trust funds is $14,879,422.20. You can see that on your treasurer's report, your current treasurer's report. It is presumed that the total cash in bank is the amount after a reconciliation takes place between the actual bank statements for April and all deposits not yet in the account, as well as all checks that have been issued but have not cleared. Since April 30th, there have been 2 large employee payrolls. It is presumed that each payroll consumes approximately $2,300,000 cash from the bank account, and are reductions in the amount of cash for the education fund, the O&M fund, and the transportation fund. Therefore, without any additional cash deposits into these 3 operating funds or any other disbursements, the bank balance, as of close of business today, is estimated to be no greater than $10,300,000 in cash. While there appears to be enough cash to effectuate the 9B lawful order, it appears that the treasurer will have to wait until June to execute the 9C lawful order of $10,800,000 when cash will be available from the 2014 levies. However, the 9C lawful order states that the transfer is to be made effective as of the date hereof. Clearly, this transfer cannot take place at this point in time because the overall size of the transfer is greater than the total amount of cash in the bank account. By the time the trustees reach the first transfer resolution, the board will have further reduced the amount of available cash due to the approval of April bills. This would leave a cash balance of only $9 million in MB Financial. My question is, how can the treasurer execute 2 lawful orders, 9B and 9C, moving $17,140,000 of cash between funds when there is probably no more than $9 million of cash in the bank account at MB Financial as of the time of the first transfer? Now, I'd like to also remind you of a primer for newly elected officials. This was written by Ansel Glink, which is a fairly well-known municipal law firm. They said that when you're asked to approve a resolution, if you don't understand it, you should table it, because if you vote for it and someone questions you about it later, they won't believe that you didn't know what you were voting on at the time. So if you understand how $9 million of cash without any loans is enough to subsidize $17,140,000 of transfers, you must be very, very well informed about the finances of the district, but that's math that doesn't add up in my book. In conclusion, it would appear that the transfer resolutions are not, in fact, permanently transferring any actual cash or even assets, such as investments or IOUs. It would appear that the trustees are being asked to ratify, by 3 separate board votes this evening, numerous diversions that have already taken place over the course of many, many years. Given the lack of disclosure, I strongly encourage the trustees to conduct actual accounting of each fund and trust prior to authorizing any transfers that do not involve any actual assets. It is my opinion that these are fictitious accounting entries. These are not actual inter-fund transfers. Does anybody have any questions for me?
No, don't think so. Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to address the board tonight? Hearing none, I'm going to close the open hearing. Thank you very much. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Is there anybody that has anything to remove? I don't.
Oh, thank you. I'm so sorry. This just isn't my night tonight. Is there anybody who would like to remove anything from the consent agenda for additional
I
discussion?
really don't, but I just.
No? Deb?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as read.
Terry moves.
I'll second.
Mike seconds.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Deb Boyle. And Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Moving into recommendations for action.
That motion carried, by the way.
Thank you.
First recommendation for action is on the waiver of state board rules for enabling the board to charge a $250 fee and use that to offset the costs of driver education.
To charge up to $350.
Up to $350.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Correct. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve submission to the State Board for transmission to the General Assembly of the waiver or modification of State Board rules and or school code mandates to allow Community High School District 98 charge up to $350 in fees for students in driver's education.
Second?
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Carried. Moving on to the approval of the attached resolution authorizing the transfer from the Education Fund and the Transportation Fund to the Operation and Maintenance Fund.
I move that we approve the resolution authorizing the transfer of the Education Fund to the Transportation Fund to the Operation Fund and Maintenance.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Second, do we have any discussion? Hearing none?
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Moving on to the approval of the attached abatement resolution authorizing the abatement of the $10.6 million of working cash fund monies to the Operations and Maintenance Fund and $200,000 of the working cash fund monies to the IMRF Social Security Fund.
I will so move. Thank you for reading it.
You're welcome.
Second?
Julia moves, Terry seconds.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, is there any discussion? Hearing none?
Thank you. Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye. So carried.
And Don Renner.
Don
I
Renner.
apologize.
Just tap her on the
Last but
shoulder.
not least, Don.
Sorry.
Is that an aye?
Yes, it was.
It was an aye, okay.
Thank you.
So moved. So carried. Okay, we have the approval of the attached resolution authorizing the transfer from the Operations and Maintenance Fund to the Capital Projects Fund.
So moved.
Terry moves.
So seconded.
So seconded. Any discussion?
Mike.
Hearing none?
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Motion carries. Approval of student discipline code.
These were the discipline codes reviewed by Mrs. Borman earlier.
I'll make a motion to approve the changes to the student discipline code as presented.
And I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none?
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Don Renner.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye. So carried. Okay, award of bid, capital improvement.
Jim?
Okay, we've got 4 projects, capital improvement work for the summer. Went out to bid, they're up on the board. One was through our architect and engineers. The other 3 were done in-house. So the low acceptable bid numbers are there in front of you. I'll run through the projects briefly. HVAC work, this is 2 projects at North, one for the underground track. Services the driver education classrooms, 2 locker rooms in the weight room area. The other one is for room 248 and 244 at North High. This is a full replacement of the air handlers in the classrooms. It's also for the condensing unit. Downstairs, it's just for the air handlers, ductwork, and all new controls on all of these units. Door replacement. 29 doors at North High. The BOCA National Fire Protection Code requires classrooms to have doors with automatic closers, and the louvers have to be removed. We are replacing the doors and putting new hardware and new closers on them, so we won't be in violation anymore.
I see, yeah.
Netting project is also at North High. It's for the varsity softball field on the west side of the building. Netting will extend around first and third baseline and the backstop. Currently, there's foul balls that are hitting fans in the bleachers and people walking on the sidewalks. So
Good thought.
we'll deter those foul balls.
Good thing Solaro.
And lastly is a 6-door hot pan warmer. This is for the kitchen at North. Last year, we did the cold.
Now we gotta do
Now we're doing the hot. So this is for the serving area at North. So both of these units were way past their lifespan, so we'll have both of them done by the end of the summer. So those are the 4 projects. We're familiar with these bidders. Bids are within budget. Scope review was done, and our bid requirements were met. So tonight, we're asking the board to approve the combined list of low acceptable bidders in the amount of $535,396.64 for
Not a
summer
penny more.
projects.
Looks good. Looks good.
Could I just ask a question, a curiosity question? Did you say it's a chiller at North or?
It's not a chiller, it's a condensing unit.
Condensing
These are
unit.
rooftop units that service 2 classrooms, so similar to a house unit that you would have
Right.
outside, but a little larger.
Then an older one, or is it one that was from the rebuild in 2000?
59.
Which would still be 15. That's a really old one. Oh, my gosh.
These are
59.
old. The motor downstairs in the underground track is a 1927 motor for that air handler unit.
You could probably sell that on eBay for something.
The original.
Yeah.
We'll be taking it out and putting it somewhere.
The Smithsonian might want it.
Smithsonian.
Can't say
Got a
we don't get a
lifespan.
lot of use out of our things here.
Yes, yes.
99.
Do you have any other
I
questions?
move that we accept these
Oh,
bids.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Oh, go
I'll
ahead.
make the motion to approve the
ahead.
combined list of the low acceptable bidders award of contracts for the 2015 summer projects in the amount of $535,396.64.
Hard to tell.
And I'll second that.
A lot of numbers.
Deb Boyle.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Julia Beckman.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Don Renner. Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. New business, policy committee report?
Gentlemen, would you like me to take the lead on this one?
If you would, yeah. We met April 23rd, and Mark will give a brief little
We,
report.
this particular meeting involved a lot of review of actual school level processes. And one was done on the request, I believe Mr. Mattoon requested we review the academic integrity policy. You heard a report about that earlier tonight. So that because that essentially is part of the discipline code, even though it's more or less administrative regulation, once the board approves it, it is in fact policy. So that was the nexus to go through the policy committee. The other issues were brought up by Dr. Kupka. She had concerns about basically exclusions or lack thereof for students who are not vaccinated, and wanted to reconsider some of the policies the policy committee brought forward. We did do a bit of research with our staff about how we manage these things currently. Frankly, we do get direction from the DuPage County Health Department, and it's very good direction. And I've relied on that myself many times in the past when we've had things like H2N1 flu breakout and some MRSA breakouts that we've had. So they are very quick to contact all the schools in DuPage County if there is any outbreak at all of a contagious illness. And then once we receive that, we do notify the students who are not vaccinated. Okay. We do believe, based on legal counsel, the question of whether a student can opt out or decline to get vaccinated based on religious reason. Well, students can do that, and frankly, the legal standard is for the parent to say they have they're opting out for religious reasons, and we have recognized that. If we have an outbreak, of course, and we get direction from the health department to exclude students, we do. And we do that immediately for the purpose of, or the length of time necessary as a result of the outbreak. So,
to exclude students who have not been vaccinated?
Correct.
Okay.
So we, based on what we perceive to be Dr. Kupka's concerns, our sense was that we are already performing or our operating procedures address the concerns. The policy came as a recommended policy from the School Board Association. Right. We think our practices fall within that policy. Our recommendation, I know I'm speaking for the policy committee, but the recommendation was that we not make changes in the policy because we believe we are operating, we're doing what Dr. Kupka is concerned about us doing and not doing. So that was our position. Am I correct,
Thank
gentlemen?
you.
It was a good thing to examine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, that was my concern, that we were not excluding students who had not been vaccinated and protecting those who had, but did not have sufficient
Right.
coverage. So thank you.
You don't have anything to do?
Nope.
Okay.
But we did meet.
But you met,
We had,
that's
and you
good.
heard the report
It's good that
earlier
you had that
about
review,
the
yeah.
academic disciplinary, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm happy, thank you.
Okay.
It made me-
Be happy.
It's a good thing to be happy.
Yes.
The early fall board retreat, do you want me to talk about that, or you talk about that?
Excellent.
I'll be glad to start, and then
Start.
I had conversation with Mike and Nancy last week, sort of an impromptu meeting. It was not a real board meeting because there were two. No agenda was required.
Nothing was
But
posted.
one of the major topic of this meeting was perhaps having a board retreat prior to the meet of the superintendent search process. And the thinking was the board is operating at a relatively high level. A retreat would be a good thing to do to solidify that. Now, when you have such a activity, I don't want to keep using the word retreat, but
We're going to Lake Geneva or something.
we're not going to Lake Geneva.
Not happening.
We have to stay in the school district, frankly, because
You're
of
right
the
here.
board meeting, we're required to stay in the school district. However,
No.
if the board employs a facilitator from the School Board Association by legislation, it can hold a retreat in closed session. If it does not, then it has to be an open session. we've done these before, I've never seen a lot of people clamoring to come in and listen, but that is an important feature for some, obviously, otherwise I would presume that's why it's in the legislation. The board has worked with Mrs. Tony before. She has a very good reputation. And she would be the facilitator. She's the ISB employee. I did happen to speak to her at a meeting last week. Sort of happenstance, we were both at the same place, and I talked to her, and she said, I'd love to do that. It would be a one-evening situation. However, I'm booked for the summer already, so the earliest you can have such a retreat is late September, early October. I think we provided you the dates of that, the dates she had available. I will say that there is the option, one of the dates was the October workshop meeting date. That is an option for the board to do that on a night that already has a commitment. Because the board already has a commitment for that night, so it's an opportunity to do it that night. But it would be a situation, I'm presuming, 6 or 6:30 or so with the meal to 9 or 9:30 or 10, something like that.
Was there anything else planned, as far as you know, for that September workshop?
You mean October workshop?
I'm sorry, October workshop?
Not yet. We'll
So
have
this
plenty
would
of
be-
things.
Oh, yeah.
But that, I mean, that's an opportunity. One of the difficulties over the years I've found in these is finding a date where everyone can be
terrible.
available. So on a date where everyone already knows
Yeah.
there's a meeting, that's an opportunity.
That's fine. I would opt for that, for those reasons, for that October workshop.
I'm just going to back up a little bit. What was the reasoning to having the retreat?
Well, we typically have had a retreat.
Well, I know I've been in on the retreats, but
I
usually
know
we've
when we
always
elect a
had,
new
but I'm
board.
wondering why we wanted to do.
Well, actually,
elect a new
Mike
board.
brought it
do it
up.
every year, and we haven't.
It was my idea.
And I fully agree with you.
So my thought was just, we have a new board member, and we have some very important things ahead of us. I think it's important that as much as we can, that we speak with one voice and at least have a good idea of where each other are at. And so an opportunity, I appreciate the requirements of the Open Meetings Act, but I think that sometimes it ends up being a bit of a barrier to us getting to really know each other and really talk about what's important to us, what our motivations are, and maybe why we feel the way we feel. And so I was looking for an opportunity like that. So it was suggested that a board retreat might be the venue that sort of meeting could happen.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there was no real issue.
No agenda.
Yeah.
No agenda,
Thank you.
other
I
than
just
get
wasn't
to
in
know
on it,
each
and all
other
of a sudden
better.
we're talking about it, so thank you for clarifying
idea.
that. I just wanted to know why we were.
So I brought the idea of having some sort of get together legally, and this is what was suggested back, that this might be the way to go about that. So that's it.
I think it's really good to have an outside facilitator, and Barb Tony does a good job, and she's very experienced.
We had a concern about cost,
Yes.
but that's
$400.
$400. So it turns out to be not really a barrier to us.
I think we're
doing
budgeted
it.
for board development or something, right?
Yes.
Or something?
And I don't think that we've done it even since Rick was elected either.
No, we haven't.
No.
We had that one probably 2 years ago.
Bill was here.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Atia's, he's done the superintendent evaluation. That has taken
Yeah,
on the
that-
form of
That's the superintendent.
board self-evaluation. I mean, he does kind of the same
Right.
thing.
But I think it's good for us to do it every year, and it's recommended that we do it every year, and we've not.
But the big thing is that what cost are we sacrificing our meeting time for? What issues are going to be on the plate that we're just
We don't
pushing
know.
off to the
I
side
agree.
to talk to everybody?
Well,
That's the
but we
concern.
should go with it, in conjunction or addition to what we normally do too. So we need to make.
I think that would make a
That
long
was not
night.
initially, my interpretation was this is going to replace.
It would be.
Well, that was
Well,
also
right now, but if we find
suggestion
something
that wasn't
important that's come up,
my
we've
intent.
got
Yeah,
to.
we don't have to do it on a scheduled board meeting night. That's not necessary. It's just the point of previously putting these on the night of a scheduled meeting makes it much easier to schedule.
I hate to have something get pushed back because we're just sitting around.
We don't just sit around. It's an
I know, but I'm
important
just
discussion.
saying.
And I understand
We
what
have
you're
this
saying.
discussion and his evaluation each year. We sit around and we do discuss our opinions about things.
Well, if something comes up in October, I think we should think about
Committed
putting
to her,
another
though.
day.
You can always change
Commit,
it.
are you locked in to the fee? Is there a cancellation?
No, you just
I'm
make
sure
it,
there's a cancellation.
you just make a change. You just change the date.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
That's
think the
my
real
only
question
concern.
is, are people interested in doing this?
Well, that's a good question. Right. I am.
One person is.
Me?
Well, I think it's a good idea.
One of 7, so.
And I'm glad, I was thinking about it myself, but I'm glad you came forward with it, Mike.
My only concern is if we have another issue we need to address, I would rather use that time to address that issue.
I didn't mean for it to supplant the business of the board.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Because we're already adding extra days, which is okay, because we're going to be getting stuff done. And haven't we added a couple extra dates in the summer,
Well,
like in August?
we have one in August, yes. We actually have one in June, but we're going to talk about that coming up, I think.
But your point, yours was more about like team building, getting to know each other. No specific agenda item like we've had in the
Yes,
past.
that's exactly the idea. We just have some things coming up, and I just, sometimes I feel like in these meetings that I don't know that my motivations are always understood. That's, so I,
And we
just.
do get together in November.
We do, and that's a wonderful opportunity. And I actually said that I mean, I threw that out as an example of, it's just with the new superintendent search that we're embarking upon, knowing that there's going to be a new principal as well, knowing that we're going to be facing some very serious financial issues come a year from now, and knowing that we have a new board member who I really, hardly know. It'd be an opportunity, it might be a good opportunity for him, too, to understand some of the history of.
Is that the right time with the superintendent search? Is that going to be a good time, or would it be
I would
better
say
to have a different
it's
time?
probably a good time because that's the time when the search firm is doing a lot of the work you're paying them for is to recruit candidates and identify and vet them before they come to you.
So they're waiting mode.
That's when they're going to be doing it in September and October. So that'd be the time to do this if you're going to do it before that point. There are other dates. I mean, she obviously sent a number of them.
That was the first available. That sounded.
Well, I wanted to come to the.
There's some in September too.
Yeah.
It's just the issue of, I know we meet a lot, and that is, to add dates at this point in time is usually challenging.
So I wanted to see if we had enough interest in the board to do we have 4 people who are interested? We have 3. I could go either way. To be honest, I'm ambivalent. Do we have anybody else who would say this sounds like a great idea?
No.
I don't see anybody, so I guess we'll think about it for a future time, maybe.
All right. Perfect.
That you think there aren't enough people who support it, is that what you're saying?
I only see 3 people coming forward to say.
And others,
Yes.
by their silence, are saying they don't want it, is that?
That's what I'm thinking. Would anybody like to?
I'm with you, Nancy.
I'm ambivalent, to be honest.
Yeah, one way or the other is fine, whatever the majority would like to do.
I would, if the only way I would say okay is with the caveat that we can cancel if something else pops up.
Well, I think that's.
I
That's
think
a
that would-
given.
That's always,
But I mean, that's like a drastic emergency. I mean, because some of our meetings have been very booked, and so we met a couple months ago and said, let's open up our calendar and let's slide some of these meetings because board members appreciated the fact they could see it a couple months before it came due, and that kind of,
Right.
now that presentation has been increased versus just one and done. Now we're seeing it a couple times, which is good, I think. But then
it makes the meetings longer.
you can only
is what
do
you're
so
saying.
much on a given night,
Yeah.
and we're doing a lot as it is, and we don't want to not do something, and so.
Okay.
Deb? Did you have any?
Well, I think by us not speaking up, I think now it's being sort of pressured. But I guess, I mean, I'm not really for it or against it. I mean, either way.
Okay. Moving on. We didn't mean to pressure you.
Wow.
Special graduation?
Yes, we, every year, we're very fortunate in District 99 to have
Excellent student.
a lot of exceptional athletes. And the next several weeks is the state finals in just about every spring season sport. And we anticipate that we will have students qualify for the state track meet, state tennis meet, softball, baseball, volleyball. We've had all of them apply or qualify at a certain point in time. And then they miss the graduation ceremony, because we're not going to change the graduation ceremony because kids can't be there for something like that. So what we've done in the past is we've had a special ceremony for the seniors involved in those. We have one scheduled because we do anticipate at North High kids will go downstate. So we have a ceremony scheduled for next Tuesday at 3:30. Scott?
Yeah, I can be there.
I think I can too.
And for
Weird
South,
schedule.
because, and I can't explain this, Mr. Schwartz can explain it. We can't do it before the fact because we'd have to have two of them. So we're going to do it after the fact on June 1st. I'm aware that's a board meeting schedule. I'd like to talk about that board meeting.
Oh, okay.
But their ceremony will be at 5 and our meeting's not till 7.
Okay.
So we could accommodate that.
We can do that.
And I would say that the families and the students involved really appreciate the effort to do these ceremonies. They don't take more than 20 minutes typically, but they're
Kids
much
really
appreciated.
appreciate it. The short graduation.
And finally, June 1st, the June 1st workshop meeting. Right now, we don't have a lot of material for that meeting. I don't think we have anything we couldn't cover by a mailing. And because the board is going to be together a lot in the next several weeks, and also I believe Nancy
I'm going to be out.
will be absent for that meeting.
Oh, that's
So
right, June 1st.
At this point in time, unless we have come up with some important agenda items between now and next week, I would recommend canceling that meeting.
That's fine. Yeah. And just, we can go to the graduation.
For the
You
ceremony.
can just do the ceremony.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good going, Ed.
Where, just exactly where is the Downers Grove North Small Grad, in the library, is it?
Library?
Auditorium.
Auditorium? Okay.
The south one is in the library?
To be determined. If it's
Okay.
only track and tennis, it'll be in the library. If we include any of baseball, softball, and or
That's big.
volleyball, which we won't know till after graduation, then we'll go in the Little Theater.
In where?
Little Theater.
Little Theater, okay.
And what day was North's?
Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
26th.
Yeah, 3:30.
3:30, 3:40.
Yeah.
Julie, could you send out location and times for everybody, just to remind them? And then let Julie know if you're going to go, so they can know how many people. Is that fair?
I'll go to both.
Okay.
And it's
Yeah, I
we
think I
wear
will.
graduation attire,
Oh, we're going to wear full?
full
We get the robes, the whole
full
deal.
regalia.
Yeah.
Do you want us to come here and pick up the robes?
You don't have to.
Okay.
They usually at the school.
I have them, so you could take them this evening if you wanted, whatever's most convenient for you all.
That might be good.
I have them.
It's coming up, isn't it? Yeah, I guess I could do that.
I don't know if I'd be able to.
Okay.
June 1st one for sure.
So we're on finals, so I think I can make it, so.
All right.
Okay, well, Julie will send something
I'll send an
out.
email and get a response.
Everybody can commit or give their apologies. Okay, can we move on to communications?
What else is on?
Or do you have anything? Oh, reception of visitors, I'm sorry. Or did you need a decision about June 1st? Do we have that decision?
Sounds like we have the decision at this
Decision?
point,
Okay.
unless we get it.
Unless something comes
No
up.
meeting on June
For the
1st.
agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the second reception of visitors, which is intended for the audience members to address the board on any topic pertaining to Community High School District 99. Hearing none, we'll move on to communication and announcements. I would like to just thank everybody for getting back to me about what committees they wanted to participate on. You know, board, being a member of the board takes a lot of time. It takes people away from their families, it takes people away from their jobs, and it's very much appreciated. And then to add committee work on top of that is a lot. So thank you all for volunteering. Lend, Don is going to take over being our representative on Lend. CSD, Julia and Terry are on CSD. 99 Education Foundation, Terry wanted the Education Foundation again. IASB would be, once again, Deb, thank you very much. And then the Policy Committee is Mike and Rick, and then Mike also wanted to be on the Financial Committee. So everybody got what they wanted. So it worked out well.
Oh, nice.
So thank you very much. And on that note, we'll move right ahead to the reports. Len.
I don't have a report from Lend. Mrs. Agnos, the lobbyist for Lend, has been in Springfield almost nonstop. Obviously, there's quite a bit of deliberation going on in Springfield about the budget, about major issues affecting education, and she has not been able to leave Springfield. She does communicate with us. I expect there will be a Lend meeting sometime before the end of the year. Mr. Runner, those meetings are at 7 a.m.
Was he told?
What's that?
That's late for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're one of those guys, huh?
So.
Great.
But they are highly recommended because they're very informative.
Really are.
Is there a regularly scheduled meeting, or?
There is a, it changes from time to time. Right now, it's been the third Friday of the month. I don't think there's one scheduled for this Friday, though. I think this is the third Friday of the month.
They meet at Glenbard, is that right?
There's a school district office on the corner of
Park and
Butterfield Road.
Mm-hmm.
It's right near Glenbard.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's adjacent to the campus of Glenbard South High School.
Okay, Julia, do you have anything to report from SACID or Illinois
quick-
Humanities Council?
A quick little statistic, the SACID student body there will be a decline in enrollment next year of total of 30 students, 23 of whom will be from the deaf and hard of hearing program. And I've been telling you over the last few months that there's a decline there because of technology transfers or advances, which is good, and also kids aging out. The SACID transition program is also declining a little bit, 11 students short. But it will still exist. And the multi-needs student body will be down by 9, which is unusual because it's been increasing over the last few years. So it's kind of a little bump. But
So like
altogether,
what percentage is that?
I'm sorry?
Like what's the total percentage that it's going to be down? Around?
The students are usually around, that's a very good question, it's about total of 200 or 250 altogether.
It's more than 10%.
So it's a fair
15,
size.
20%.
That's a good
Yeah,
percentage.
you know what? I'll be sure to bring that back to you because right now I'm not sure. The alternative school, however, which is what District 99 uses, will increase by 7. The alternative school is getting so they have to limit enrollment because there's not enough space. And the STARS program, which is our autistic program, will increase by 3. And the visually impaired program will increase by 3. So that's kind of just little bumps that come along the way. But because the alternative program is growing, and that's partially because we're taking in more mental illness issues, mentally ill kids who need somewhere to go. There's a lot of, he's had some, Dr. Volpe has had architects working on redesigning the interior of the Czech Center, which is where the staff is right now, along with the alternative school, moving all the staff out, like the administrators and everybody out. And they could put in 3 or 4 more classrooms, but he's not sure where the administrators will go. So that's the next step, but it's kind of, I guess, it's a good news, bad news kind of a thing, I guess, because people are really appreciating the SACID programs and sending students there, but on the other hand, it means that there's a lot more need in those areas. And so I will be bringing more to you, and it may mean trying to do it without an increase in assessments on the part of the districts. There will be a small increase, and you already know that, I'm sure. I'm sure that Scott does. There's always a little bit of an increase in fees every year because of inflation.
Okay, did you have anything on the Illinois Humanities Council?
Just that we were, I believe, we were, after the last meeting, we were down in Springfield lobbying for money. We get this, the Humanities Council gets all of $700,000 a year from the state budget, which is like .0000 something something. But it's been cut so drastically over the years that we were down there lobbying. It's always interesting if you've ever been down there to lobby. You talk to your legislators, and everybody was very sympathetic, but they were all saying, we don't know what's happening with the budget, we can't promise anything. And of course, when you're talking about billions of dollars for education, they were kind of glad to talk to us because it was a smaller amount of money. But the Humanities Council did just have a very successful fundraising lunch. I was unable to attend, but it raised about $200,000, so that's a tidy percentage of the budget. It does very good work, and I will continue to report to you on the work it does.
Thank you. Terry, did you have anything on?
No, we passed out checks tonight, so that's pretty much what we.
And I have to say, I used Ticks for Cause this last weekend for the first time. Got great seats for very little money, and it is there's almost everything in Chicago is in there. So if people are interested, they should do it.
And they should also consider donating those seats because that's how they're.
I gotta remember to do that when I can't use a ticket.
They get their pool?
Yes, the pool is used. So we need people from District 99 to
I'll try to remember that.
give.
Deb, did you have anything to add about IASB?
I didn't have anything for IASB tonight.
Okay.
I'm good.
Gentlemen, Policy Committee, Finance Committee, anything?
No.
Okay, graduation is going to be on May 29th. Woo. And I think South is first.
Yes.
Yes.
And
We'll
then,
send out instructions Friday, about times where we're meeting.
Okay.
We'll send that out Friday.
so then the June 1st meeting is going to be canceled, although we will have the South graduation earlier that evening. And then June 15th, we'll have a business meeting here at 7:30 p.m. Anything else? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Pictures.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Those all opposed? Thank you very much.
Pictures.